I imagine the maths would say that the triple lock is potentially a problem. You called it a poor tool in the past. Do you still feel that's the case, or have you changed your mind?
I think the way we should think about this is, look, there's like differences of views on the exact mechanism of the triple lock, right? Exactly how it works. The more important thing is what do you think about what's most important for pensioners? And my view is, what are the two things this government is actually offering pensioners, today's pensioners? Everything we've talked about before is mainly about tomorrow's pensioners, today's workers, right? Which sounds like is your target audience. But there are people above the age of 45, and some of them are above the age of 66 and are receiving their state pension.
We've got them as well. It's just the bulk is 25 to 45.
Okay, good. You don't want to lose those.
No, I mean,
and there's more of those coming.
We cover everyone. We cover everyone. So there'll be people of all ages listening. Okay, it's not just so you're talking directly to them.
What's our priority for pensioners? There's basically two, to keep it simple. Raising the state pension relative to earnings. Now, the triple lock is the way we're doing that, but that's the policy. And then saving the NHS. Right, those are the two most important things we need to do for pensioners. If you look at what we're spending, those are the two priorities. Sometimes that means there's other stuff pensioners might like that we're not doing. I'm not taking all pensioners out of tax, because the two priorities are making sure they actually have an NHS that's fit for purpose, because the biggest single betrayal of older generations is the state of the NHS. We cannot have these huge waiting lists. We've got to get them down. I see it in Swansea every weekend, people who've had a tough time waiting too long. And the waiting lists are now coming down in Wales and in England because we've put the investment in. So that's the first thing we're doing. And then we're raising the state pension, because remember, yes, there are lots of pensioners who do have better defined benefit schemes who are coming into retirement at the moment. That's a really good thing. There's a reason why pensioner poverty has halved from the levels I mentioned earlier in the 1990s. It used to be about 30%, halves over the course of the last Labour government. It's risen a bit under the Tories, but it's still a lot lower than it was in the 90s. So you've got this cohort coming through with these defined benefit schemes. That's a good thing. They're generally higher income. But remember, there's still over 1 million pensioners who are just living on the state pension. Those kind of people will also be particularly likely to be spending their money on essentials like food and energy bills. And so we're making sure that they are not. I want those people to enjoy a decent retirement, and that's what raising the state pension is about.
Yeah, but it guarantees that it will outstrip wage growth and inflation long term, and that is unsustainable. And do you think then that what we're doing, because the theme here is long-termism, and I do believe that you've got a long-term view, do you think that we're sacrificing the potential viability of state pension long-term to protect that triple lock in the short term?
No. That isn't what we need to do. We do need to think about the whole system in the long term. I think that's a really important thing to do, as well as the two short-term priorities I just gave to you. I think that is important. That is what the Pension Commission is doing, which is what the original Turner Commission did as well, which is look at the system in the round. Are we sure that people retiring in 2050 will have the same kind of comfortable retirements as people retiring today? And on current where we are today, I can't promise you that. Right, if you look at the projections, we're talking about private pension income for retirees in 2050 being about 8% lower than for retirees today, and that is not acceptable. Right, so that's what the Pension Commission's job is about getting right, making sure today's workers have that comfortable retirement, and that does mean looking at the public and private pension system in the round. That's what the Commission will do for the long term. But if you're asking me about like this year, next year, then we have decided that we do need to slightly increase the rate of the state pension. That's the triple lock is the mechanism we're using for doing that. That does not mean, I see lazy stuff saying that means is the whole system's going to blow up tomorrow. That isn't what the maths say. There is an issue, obviously, that we are an older country. Right, that is an issue that does put pressure on how do we make sure we're laying the ground for a sustainable system. But remember, these are not separate things. Don't think about the private pension system here and then the state pension here. If you do what we need to do to make sure we have a decent private pension system, so at some point you start saving, and all the other self-employed as well. No, but that is important because it's taking pressure off the state system. It means you have fewer people coming into pension credit, into the means-tested pension provision. So saving for our own pensions is, as individuals, really important to make sure we have a comfortable retirement. But as a system, it's also really important to make sure that the state is sustainable, right? It's not just care about the state pension. That's what matters for fiscal sustainability. The state and the private system massively
But that triple lock that guarantees that the state pension grows up above wages puts more pressure on the working population so they can save less into their private schemes because it's a pay-as-you-go system that supports an ageing population with a declining birth rate.
Yeah, if your point is, are there pressures that come from an older population over time, then I agree.
No, more that the pressure's been amplified through a system that you said was a poor tool, and it seems like everyone
everyone outside of government agrees that the triple lock is probably needs to be looked at. And I'm just wondering why you guys won't.
Well, we've written a manifesto and it says we're going to be raising the state pension because that's the right thing to do for now. And we're going to do it.
Okay, thank you for that.